And just like that, 2024 is over. So do you ever go back and have a little look at 2004 to see, I wonder how I got on, how much money you've earned, hopefully you're earning more money, or where did I get all them customers from? What kept me busy all through the year? Well, in this podcast, I'm going to go through right back to January when I obviously started 2024, when I started working in this year, and see where them customers come from. I'm going to go through where I found them customers, how I got them customers, and what happened sort of thing, like what went on, and how I got a shed load of work out of them, and they kept me busy all through 2024. And hopefully you'll be able to get some inspiration or some ideas from this podcast to be able to get more customers into your business, and the types of customers that you want to keep as well. Not necessarily someone that just wants a light putting up or a plug changing on their lamp. Proper jobs where you earn proper money. So here we are at the end of the year once again. And sometimes you feel like, yeah, good, I'm glad that year's over. It's a bit of a nightmare. Or you're thinking, yeah, good, next year it will be even better. Excited for 2025. That's myself. I'm excited for 2025. I always like to make things better and bigger. So, yeah, next year should be even better. So how did I get all the work that kept me busy through the year? Well, the first job was for a gardener. And I remember this gardener because I met him, must have been a good 10 years ago. He was having a conservatory done. And obviously he wanted some power in the conservatory. So the window fitter, the conservatory guy, whoever he was, I can't remember now, he's retired. He was building the conservatory, got me in there to do a few sockets. And I got on with that customer. That customer used to work for a company. And then he stopped and set up his own company, gardening, and he got a shed load of work. And then with all the work he got, people asked for electrician. And I've just continued to do loads of work for him over the years. So out of that one, you can gather that you don't know where it's going to lead sort of thing. This guy, I just went round there to do a few sockets and a light in his conservatory. And then I stayed friends with him. We got on well. Basically, he had a motorbike. So we got on well, chatting about bikes, and we exchanged each other's numbers because obviously he always needs a decent electrician. And we got on well. And he used me for everything and recommended me to plenty of people as well. So when he started up his gardening company, he had a big contract with like rectories, like the churches around here, and he was doing the garden maintenance. And then he went on to doing the maintenance inside the buildings, and inside the buildings they need an electrician. So who did he call? He called me, and we had a shed load of work out of that. So just remember that every person you meet, every customer you meet, how big or small the job is, it can escalate into something bigger. Another customer that I worked for in January was a car dealer. Now, this car dealer I have known for many years. I've been friends with his sons. He's a bit older than me, but I sort of grew up. I'm older than his lads, but we sort of drank in the same pubs when we were younger. And the thing is, when we were younger, we were scallywags. We were naughty, and I'm assuming I didn't speak to too much because he was the dad of my friend that we both got in trouble together and stuff. But we've escalated on, and he knows I'm an electrician now. And this guy is not just a car dealer. He doesn't just sell cars. He's got properties. He's got commercial properties. So whenever he needs an electrician, he calls me up. And I've got a shed load of work through the past 5-10 years, I think, from this guy as well. So that's another opportunity that's came along that's kept me busy all year. And that's January. That's a couple of jobs in January. So right, let's move on to February. What did I do in February? Well, in February, there was a builder. And what the builder done, he had a customer that said they needed a rewire on a property. So he just said, Ben, here's the number. I'll pass it over. And he gave me that job for a rewire. So if I can remember correctly, because it's quite an expensive bill there, that was a rewire on a whole property. And that was through a builder. I met that guy through another guy that I worked with. He recommended me, gave me a call, got a quote and accepted. And then through the year, I've done a shed load of work for that builder as well. So it's always a good idea to stay on the good side with a builder, because they don't only use you for their work if they've got a bit of extension going on or a refurb or a rewire somewhere. They don't just use you, they recommend you to their family and friends as well. So it's always a good idea to keep in the good books of some builders. I say some builders because, yeah, not all builders though. And sometimes as I go back looking through here, I've got some names on there and I know the company, but I can't remember what job it was. But this one company that I did a lot of work for, they've got 4 companies. Like, they've just separated it all up. They've got a few businesses here, there and everywhere. And how did I meet them? I'm trying to think. I met them through putting a 3-phase socket in for a compressor, I think, on their original business they had. They had a small unit and they needed somebody. A builder recommended me. A builder recommended me to put a 3-phase socket in for their compressor or for their new compressor that's getting delivered. And I remember doing that, got on with them, exchanged numbers. That has got to be over 15 years ago. Definitely, that's a long time ago. And through then, they've had a numerous amounts of companies, and they've also bought properties, commercial properties and domestic properties, where they've got a house and just ripped it to bits. They like to do things properly, and I like that about them. That's why we get on. They go into that property, rip it to bits, make it spot on, because they don't want the tenants that move in there to be upset or moan about everything, because they do things to a good standard. And this is it. They're not just doing it to make a little bit of money, a quick buck. They do it because they're making that property better, because they know for a fact in the long run that when they sell that property, it's going to be worth the money, because they've put 6 sockets in the living room where the TV and all that is. It's a convenience. They've put plenty of sockets in the kitchen. They've wired everything new and fresh. If I go in there and say, right, that's not fantastic, I've got to a relationship now, well, they sort of trust me and say, yeah, Ben, just do whatever. Do whatever you think it needs doing. This is the thing. I've got to a position now with a lot of customers where I don't give them a quote. And they don't care. They just think, right, I trust Ben to go in there, do what needs to be done and get it done. And if when I'm digging around, I think, hang about this cooker circuit, I don't want to connect onto this. And to be honest with you, it needs to upgrade it a bit and rerouting. It's not in the right zones. So I'll just rip it out and start fresh. And then they'll say, right, what's this 500 quid? They might ask it because they're not stupid. Nobody is. And they'll say, right, I needed to do the cooker circuit. As long as I can justify it to them to say, look, I did this and this is why I did it, they've never quibbled. It's fine. And that's the sort of customers you want. You want the sort of customers that just ring you up and say, right, I got this job. Ben, get in there and get it sorted. Obviously, if your name's not Ben, they're not going to say that. But that's what sort of customers that I appreciate now, that I get on with. They just know and they trust me, because I don't want to go in there. A lot of people say, look, I haven't got a lot of money, so can you just make it work? I hate doing that. You can, as you know, as an electrician, you can make things work. You can get them working, up and running, to get them over maybe a temporary period. But a lot of people, temporary, if it works, means forever. So I hate that. So with customers that say, right, Ben, just get it working. If you recommend replacing the whole lot, digging a new trench and putting a new supply in, then do that. That's what sort of customers I like working for. And then moving into March, there was these 2 amazing people that definitely become friends. They bought it was a big farmhouse. And I remember, because I met them, because the builder, I didn't even know the builder actually. So they must have found me on Google or got recommended somewhere in a wholesalers maybe. They recommended me and I went up there and they did like an annex for on side of the building for, I think they've Airbnb'd it and stuff. But the reason why I went over this year was because they're selling the property. So they wanted a big, a whole EICR on the property, which was fine. Because I rewired most of that property, so I knew exactly what I was doing. I put the new boards in with RCBOs and everything was tip top, as it should be. There was a couple of downlights that needed to change because they said this doesn't work, the fan needs sorting out. Little jobs that I wanted doing as well whilst I was there, which wasn't a problem. And that customer, I've had so much work out of them over the years, and they've also recommended me to them, their family and friends. They're inside of a little village called Old, and I wouldn't say I don't know, maybe it is a well-to-do little village. It's got lovely houses there, a lovely amount of land on all the houses, so it's perfect for me because I can pull up on the drive and take my dog for a wander in their paddocks. So that is one job that I love doing, and another customers that I've met that I've done plenty of work for over the years. And now this next job I did in March was, I remember it. It was a couple of extractor fans, one in the kitchen, one in the bathroom. And they got my number through a painter, where I was working for somebody on a bungalow, and I was putting the downlights in. No, I wasn't. I was exchanging the fans, something like that. I was doing some work in there, and I was jabbing away to the painter. And the painter, I gave him my number, and that painter obviously did some work for these people, and then they asked for an electrician. So they called me up. So that was another avenue where I've spoken to a painter or another trade. They've taken my number and they've passed it on to their customers. And that's what helped me get plenty more work. So definitely don't ever look a gift horse in your mouth and be horrible, and don't get on with the other trades on site, like plumbers, painters, carpenters, builders. Get along with them. You don't have to love or like them, sort of thing, really. You've got to get along because you're all there to get a job done. But if you exchange numbers, if you get on to that extent where you exchange numbers and then they recommend you to their customers or family and friends as well, that'll also help grow your business. And in April, there was a couple of jobs in there that were also for the people that had the 3 or 4 companies, because I've done plenty of work for them over the times and they've kept me busy through April by the looks of it. But there's one in there that's for a lady that had a husband that was a builder. That husband and her are no longer together. So I was the electrician. She knew that I used to work for that builder. So she called me up saying, look, Ben, I've got a couple of rental properties that I need looking at. Do you mind coming over and having a look? So even if, the thing is now then, the builder doesn't use me anymore. I don't work with that guy anymore, which is a bit of a sore subject because that builder's not around anymore through his own choices. So, but his wife obviously kept my number and she knew I was a good electrician and wanted me to do work for them. So she's gone on and bought a few properties that also need maintaining and electrical work doing inside. So that's another bonus for me that keeps me busy. Now, in May, there was a job where a ground worker that I know worked around somebody's house. They recommended me as the electrician, and the lady phoned me up. But then when she told me who her husband was, I said, I know that guy. I'll come round, take a look. And he was one of the guys that I used to knock around with as a kid when I lived in the little village. And we got on like a house on fire, just like we saw each other yesterday. Like we got on great. So that was me, basically. He knew me since a kid. So it was me guaranteed, basically, to get the work out of them. And I have done through the years as well. They've had kitchen done. He's always doing something to his house. He's one of these guys that are a bit of a perfectionist. So you've got to be in his house and make sure you don't make a mess, unless you need to. He understands sort of thing. But he's always doing something different. And like guys do, they like their modern content, like technology. He likes things to work Wi-Fi, and he likes things to be LED, all modern. He likes things to work and then not faff around with them. So some of your old school friends, maybe back in the day, that are around, they also keep you in work, because if you turn up to the house and maybe you haven't seen them for 10, 20 years, they know you a little bit. So they trust you straight away. So it's another guy that doesn't even ask me for a quote, really. He just says, Ben, get on and do it. Which, that's what I like about a customer. So then another job, it's another one actually, that no one asks me for a quote anymore. They just ask me to get on and do it. This guy doesn't ask me because I've known him since he was born. It's my cousin. He runs a company called LPS Roller Shutter and Doors. And obviously they have plenty of electrical feeds need putting in for their doors, like a 3-phase supply or even a single-phase supply sometimes. But then he always phones me up and says, right, we've got this job here, this job there. Are you interested in doing it? Because obviously for himself, he's got a few sparkies that he knows that he can call up on. But he calls me up every now and again. We do a lot of work for him as well. And looking down at May, there was bleeding 8 jobs that I invoiced out in May. Yeah, we'd done a good month, but that was my birthday month. I shouldn't have been that busy. So it's good being busy, or it might have been that that's when I had time to sit down and do the invoices. I can't remember. It was months ago. Now, this next one, in June it was, I met this guy, what? Years ago. Basically, I think I got recommended to him. He just wanted a couple of sockets in his garage. So I went round, sorted the sockets out for his garage. And since then, he's moved twice. And I've been to both houses. But the funny thing is, I don't see him for sort of, I don't know, a good 5 years. I don't see him for 5 years. Obviously, he doesn't have any electrical problems because I've been around there and sorted them out in the first place. But he keeps my number. And if he's got anything electrical he needs doing, he'll phone me up. Just for a bit of advice sometimes. Or to say, right, Ben, get in here and come and do it. Can you just come in and do this job for me because I need it doing? And that job was a supply to the Summerhouse. Which, if you check out my videos, you might have seen that I did a supply to a Summerhouse using contactium boards because I wanted to keep in suit with the contactium board that you had in the property. It's like an OCD thing. It's nice to keep the same sort of components in that property. So I got a contactium board and installed that in his Summerhouse. And again, in June, there was a job for a car dealer, the same car dealer that was in January. More than likely, he had a property that he was renting out or had some issue with a rental property that I had to go and sort out. And there was another, I'm trying to think who this guy was. I've got the address down here, but I can't actually remember. But it's only a small call-out charge, so he might have had a problem with a light somewhere that we invoiced out along the lines there. But like I get to say again, in June, there's only 3 jobs I've invoiced out. So I'm not sure what I'd done back in June. It's a long time ago. You keep yourself busy all the time. But again, these are repeat customers. These are customers that kept me busy all through the year. These are people that keep ringing, like especially with people with rental properties. They need to have things tip-top. Smoke alarms and everything working. No loose sockets, especially if they've got children in the house. You can't have a loose socket in there. Kids poke their fingers in things. So they want to keep things tip-top because no one wants to get sued these days. And then moving on to July as well. When I was saying earlier about this builder that's not around anymore, he was a builder. He had plenty of friends that he did work for. And then his wife obviously knows all the friends as well. So when someone says, do you know an electrician? His wife recommends me. So there's a couple of people that month that I've been round to their house and done some electrical work. So that was a good little touch, I think, with knowing that builder and obviously getting along with his wife after meeting her as well. And she recommends me to all the family and friends. Because the builder had gone under, he did have an apprentice electrician that worked for him, but he went off and did his own thing somewhere else. So then people wanted an electrician. So this is where it came back my way to do the electrical work for so many more people. And then August, these are just repeat customers to what I've been doing work for through the years on another company. For the guys that I told you that I have 4 companies, that is some more work for them on another project that we're doing. And then also the LPS roller shutter and doors. There was another job that I did for them. So these are all repeat customers, all customers that keep you busy through the years. You do a good job for them once, and they'll keep calling you, saying, right, Ben, we need this doing now, we need that doing now. And like I say, when you get to that position, not a lot of people ask you for a quote. Once they get to know you a little bit and they trust you, the work you've done, and it's fine and spot on, you give them certificates and you do everything, cross the T's and dot the I's, everything tip-top, they think, right, well, I'm just going to get Ben in to do it because they know that it'll be done properly and they'll have no problems. And that's what customers want. They just want to be able to call me up and say, right, I want an office built in my garden. I've got it built in there, now I need electrics. What do you want in there? You decide, do you think what's best? And you just go in there and you do it and you explain to them why you've put your sockets here. You can put a telly up there. I've run an Ethernet down from your house as well so you can get hardwired internet. Things like that, they trust you for. So that's what I like, to go in and just get it done. Now in September, it's a little bit different, this one. This was a Google call out. There was a lovely house on an estate round near me that found me on Google. And they were having some electric gates put in. And if you follow me on the other channels with the videos, you'll be able to see on there that I put some boxes in, brand new boxes with an isolator for the electric gates. So that was a little job that turned into near on a couple of grand off of Google. So if you're not on Google, make sure to get your business profile set up, because little jobs that come in like that, and I'm pretty sure as well, when I looked inside his house at his board and stuff, that he probably will have a bit more work in the future. So I've made sure that he's got my number and he can give me a call when that comes up. And then also in September, for this builder that I did a job for, we were working at the property that he was doing, and then next door neighbours bought the bungalow next door, so the neighbours recommended me to do the electrics there. And then the next door neighbour, the elderly lady that lives next door to them, I was recommended to do a bit more work in her house. I think it's only a few sockets. I think we'll change the board in there eventually. But then her daughter owns a business, which I also did work for. This is how it can easily spiral out of control. This is what I like about that street in Kettering, I tell you. I've done plenty of work down that street. I've got a good reputation, I think, and they just keep passing my number along, which is fantastic because they're happy with my work and they're happy with the jobs I do, and I'm convenient. The thing is as well, they all know the dog. They all know and love Rocco. When I go around there, they ask me to bring him in the house and they all want to say hello to him, which is great. They're lovely people. But it's how it can spiral out of control. Because if I remember rightly, I went round there once for the elderly lady on the corner and she was having a haircut. And then the hairdresser said, I also need an electrician every now and again. Can I have your number? Not a problem. Gave her my number. And then I have been round just to change a bathroom light for her. So there's so many ways you can get work out of one customer. And that was from knowing one builder. Yeah, that continues to grow over time, that does. And then also in September, there was a job that I got through the painter again. The painter is still giving my numbers out. That painter that I met on a job where he was painting the ceiling, I remember because I was trying to put the bleeding downlights up and he left the bezels off. So I remember that he's still giving my number out and I'm still getting work out of him giving my number out, which is also another fantastic avenue to get work from. So October, you remember me telling you about the people that have 4 companies, and I get on very well and do a lot of work for them. Well, they also rent a commercial property out to somebody. In that property, they run a business. I went round there once to sort out some of the Ethernet sockets so they can have their internet going, and for the CCTV, I think was going up. They took my number and then also used me to build these little cabins on a school. It was a bit of a drive. I didn't mind doing it. I gave them a quote. They accepted the quote and I went and done it for them. That was another person that passed my number over. I can't assure you how much it is important to get on with your customers. I know tradesmen, they go around someone's houses sometimes and they know that bloke's going to be a nightmare or that lady's going to be a nightmare. It is pants sometimes and you don't want to get along, you don't want to go back, but just be nice anyway, because then they've got to pay you to start with. And if you're just nice anyway, they might just be having a bad day. They will recommend you to somebody else. All the work I get these days is through recommendation. And this is why I've been so busy, I think. It's been a bit of a chore lately. I have been fantastically busy. To be honest with you, I wish I could slow down a little bit. But some of these customers have become friends and they trust me to get on and do it, and I've started it. So once you start a job, you know you've got to finish. Sometimes you think it's going to be a little job, but it escalates. Like this pub I'm doing at the moment. I originally went in there, we were going to just do a few downlights, change some lights, sort some sockets out. Yeah, no, that's all changed now. They're ripping it to bits and we're starting from fresh. So that's escalated into a lot more work. Because in October as well, I'm trying to think how I know this guy. I can't remember how I met him. Through the gardener. That was it. The gardener recommended me to a groundworker. And the groundworker has a massive office area and he needs to keep it safe and secure. So I've put no end of floodlights in that office area for him and inside the office as well. We put some thinner lights up in his office area, like LEDs. So I've done plenty of work for that guy as well. And that's gone through the gardener, which obviously that gardener I met, wasn't a gardener when I met him. He was motorway maintenance, I think. And I met him through the window fitter. So this is how it can all escalate up, and you just more people you meet, the more work you get. And then in October, I also did a job for a dental practice. The only reason I did it is because the electrician they normally use, he was away on holiday. And I know this because I asked the question, who do you normally use? They told me, and I knew him. I said, but why'd you call me then? Because he's a great bloke. I like that electrician. He's a good lad. They said, well, he's on holiday. So I just got it up and running for them and replaced what I needed to, and then recommended a bit more work to be done later on. And I said, let Anthony know, and I'm sure he'll get it done for you. Which, in my eyes, was a bit of a bonus because there was plenty of work that could be done there to tart it up. So I'm a bit busy and I didn't want to poach one of my mate's customers, basically. So I let that company know for the other electrician to take a little look at it and see what he could do. And I'm sure that he's going to go in there and make it tip-top. Then moving on to November. November, I had plenty of repeat customers. For the people that did the pods in the schools, I did some work at their actual private house, in the domestic house, for their heating. They wasn't happy with how the heating was working. They originally said we had some bleeding idiot come and install the electric heating with a stupid Wi-Fi thermostat and stuff that didn't ever work properly. I said, okay, let's start from scratch. So I got a Hive hub and a Hive thermostat, connected it all up, and they were chuffed to bits. It happens now. They can turn the heating on while they're at home. I saw him the other day and he said, I love it because on the way home, I can stick the heating up and it's lovely and warm by the time I walk in the house, which is perfect. And then in November as well, there was an industrial job that we did because what I did, they were moving some machinery. So I went there one day, they moved the machine into another room and I run a new supply into it in Armoured and put a couple of SWA sockets in around the building as well, which was another job through LPS. And I suppose, yeah, you're working for LPS is a bit of a cheat because he's a family member, but it works. And if your family have got businesses or building or gate companies or some sort of trade that they're doing, they're going to use you as the electrician because they know, like, and trust you, because there's so many people out there these days. I don't know, I haven't met a fantastic amount of them, but they do a program about cowboy builders, so there's plenty of them, and no one wants to be caught out with a dodgy cowboy builder who wrecks their house, especially if they're getting paid money. Like, a lot of the work that I do for LPS is working for them for another company. So I'm a third-party agent, a third-party contractor in a way. So it needs to be right, because otherwise, if it comes back on them, they look stupid, and no one likes looking stupid, so they get someone in there that's going to do a good job, get it working properly, safely, and get gone. Now, December, I swear it just gets busier and bleeding busier. I've got these people that have bought the pub, and these are the people that have got 4 companies. They've bought a pub and they're renovating, so we'll be doing plenty of work there. I've also got another friend who's bought a café, and he's doing it all up, ripping it to bits and starting again. So we're doing a lot of work there. And then there was also another guy, you might have seen this video. He is a car dealer. Trying to think how I met him. Can't even remember. But he's got another car dealer, a different car dealer than before, that I did a lot of work at his house. I met him through a builder. That was it. I met him through a builder when he did an extension 7 years ago on his property. I did the electrics there. He's kept my number, and I've done no end of work for him since. I've done some work at his garage. I've done some work at his rental properties, and he's another one of these guys that like things just so, like things working. If one bulb goes out, replace the lot. This was the thing. On these LED tape that went round, they weren't working ideally how he wanted them. So he said, rip them out, do them again. So that's exactly what we did. So in 2024, I've worked for around 44 different customers, whether it be a big job or a small job. And with them customers, they sort of recommended me to grow to other customers. Because not always, like I was on about that one guy that had a Summerhouse built in his garden. I hadn't spoke to him for 5 years. That'll be spot on. I might not speak to him again for another 5 years. But he will recommend me. If someone says to him over Christmas or at a barbecue, oh, do you know a decent electrician? Yes, of course I do. Here you go, have Ben's number, rah, and it'll escalate on that way. Because after Christmas, when people sit down, people get together, saying, I'm thinking of getting this done, I'm thinking of getting that done, I'm going to have an extension, I'm going to have a kitchen done. Do you know any decent electricians? You can guarantee your name's going to come up. So then, as soon as they think, well, it is January the 2nd, you should be back at work now, your phone's just going to ring, to go and check another job out. And that'll be another customer. So this, hopefully you've taken from this podcast about how easy it is to grow your customer base, about how easy it is to get work from one customer, how it can just go out of control sort of thing. More and more people ring you. And the thing is, yes, you will get some customers turn around and go, right, can I have a quote? Fantastic, that's great, because then they want to sort of judge you a little bit and find out what your prices are. Make sure to go in at a competitive, well, maybe not competitive, but go in at a normal price, what you're happy to work for. And then they'll know where they stand. You will not win all the work with all these customers. Some people do want electricians to come round for a fiver and change their light. Some people do want electricians to come round and rewire their house for £1,000, do it at the weekends whilst I'm out with my dog. Yeah, that's not something that I do these days. I did do it back in the day when I first started out. I'd go around friends and family houses and change a light for 20 quid because 20 quid back in the day was a drink. These days, it's not going to cover your diesel or petrol, depends on what vehicle you got, or electric. Oh, have you seen the EV video that I did when I had the EV van for 3 days? Not for me. I don't know how it is for anybody else, but that is my opinion. Fantastic. I like the idea of EV, but yeah, I'm not going to jump into EV anytime soon. So this is me wishing you and your family a fantastic Merry Christmas of 2024. I hope you have a great one with plenty of food and a few drinks, of course. And I'll see you again in 2025. Till next time.